because you want to. And also, see, this system I've invented makes geometry and emotion come together. Like, let me give you an example. If you were playing, there are intervals you can play that are dissonant but happy, a whole tone. Mm-hmm. Do, re, do, do. If I could play those together, they're dissonant, but it's happy. There are intervals that are very consonant. If I go do, re, mi, fa, sol, do, ha, ha, ha. If I play those together, they're not dissonant with many different timbres. Some there are, but most timbres, especially smooth woods, it's not at all dissonant, yet it's dark and sinister. So I'm not talking consonance and dissonance. I'm talking that there's seriousness, power, and then there's lightheartedness, kind of lightness, pleasure. And if you were to take, say, the serious stuff and the lighthearted, pleasant stuff, and you were to arrange it in 2 dimensions, well, I won't ask you what you would do, but wouldn't it make sense if we were to do this? We'll take all the notes that are lighthearted and happy and pretty, and we'll put them close together. And then we'll take all the notes that are serious together and powerful and dark and sinister, and we'll put them further apart. And we'll put them, any 2 notes that you pick on your 2-dimensional surface, the distance will determine how serious they sound together. Their darkness level. Mm-hmm. The closer, the less darkness. The further, the more. Wouldn't that make total sense? And this is not the case in a keyboard, not at all. Lighthearted, sinister, lighthearted. It's just totally random, right? But on my thing, it's absolutely... Then you go to ratio, right? Okay, so you're this mathematician. Well, what about the math? So you whip out the ratios. Okay, here's the ratios, right? And in this arrangement, same deal. Any 2 notes that are close together form simple ratios. Any 2 notes, anywhere on the surface. If they're close, they form a simple ratio. 2 to 1, 3 to 2, 4 to 3. But the further apart they get, the more complex the ratio. Either the bigger the ratio, like, say, 32 to 1, is not a complex ratio, but it is a big ratio, right? Because there's a big difference between those. 1078 to 99 is a complex ratio. Well, all those ratios that are distant are either large or complex, and all the ones that are close are simple ratios, and they're not large, And so there's a mathematical confluence and an emotional confluence, When I start seeing complex ratios, and then every interval that has a complex ratio seems to have a feeling of power or darkness, and then the simple ratios and the small ratios every single time, clearly to anyone, asking someone to come in the room and asking them, when I hear that those sound, have simple ratios and sound light emotionally, then that says to me, this is something, this is a higher musical order. And this higher musical order, when you build instruments and then you see 4-year-olds walk in and begin to play things that sound like symphonies in 5 seconds flat, and run to their mother and go, Mom, come here, and then their mother go, and be complete. When you see other people begin to make music that's beautiful and powerful and not like, because I can play stuff you can't play, and it's not like music that it was before, and it's closer to the heart and closer to the brain. Makes more sense rationally, makes more sense emotionally, and makes more sense sensory-wise. Because you didn't even hear the full power of that thing. That thing's stereo. And you can hear, the stereo pans it, and you can hear notes that are close sound like they're close together, and notes that are far apart are spread between the speakers. Mm-hmm. So you can really hear this. And it's basically, you can prove it mathematically. That's easy to do. There's there's no with numbers there's no ambiguity. I can prove it mathematically. Bring in the professors. They will go down, like I was the biggest wrestler in the room.